Spursonians, welcome to another episode of the pre-match prediction from the Spursiverse, and I am your host, Marstradamus, delivering prophecies, predictions, and previews on Tottenham Hotspur. And in this video, we are previewing lowly Luton Town against the fragrant, the flamboyant, and the undefeated Tottenham Hotspur, Ange's Army, as we travel to Kenilworth Road. But before I get into the predictions, there's a little secret. We might go top of the league with 3 points on Saturday. We can't say that too loudly because there are haters among us. But anyway, before we unpack the prediction, let's take a preview of the up-and-coming game between Tottenham Hotspur and Luton Town. Before I dive into my crystal ball, let's look at some of the recent form between these two teams. Now, I'm going to say to you, I was disappointed with our last match against Liverpool. Even though we got the 2-1 victory, and we had to get it, because if we didn't get it, all hell would have broke loose, and you could just hear the commentators and the pundits and everyone going crazy that we couldn't beat 9 men, right? But the bigger picture there was actually we didn't play too well. We struggled in the second half, right? So I was disappointed with us in the second half from a creativity and from an invention standpoint. We got too predictable, we were too slow, and we just ran out of ideas. And if you want to know why I ran out of ideas, I got a video that I can link up right here, or is it there? One of those corners where you can see why I think we ran out of ideas. Look at our on the road record. We've beaten Bournemouth 2-0. We drew. Alright, so let's take the victories. We've beaten Bournemouth 2-0. We've beaten Burnley 5-2, and we drew 2-2 with Arsenal, and we drew 2-2 with Brentford. Those are our away games. And so again, we've scored 2 or more in all of those away games. We've also conceded, barring the Bournemouth one, we've conceded 2 in those games as well. So there's something to be said about we're leaking goals, and so we're away again. Will we give Luton an opportunity to get goals in this game? That's a question to think about. Will we get a clean sheet, or will we shut them out? Luton, as I said before, at home, they haven't really taken a pasting. They've lost 2 and they've drawn 1, and they drew 1-1 with Wolves, and the games that they lost 2-1 were both against West Ham and recently against Burnley. Maybe they don't like claret and blue. I don't know. No one's really taken them to town. So, but the same could have been said about Sheffield United, and then they went to Newcastle and took 8. So let that sink in. So what does this mean for the upcoming match? Well, form can tell us something, but not everything. Now, what I will say with Luton is, although they've lost all their home games, well, they've not lost all their home games. They've lost 2, drawn 1. So they lost recently against Burnley in midweek. They drew against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and they lost at home to West Ham. So those are their 3 home games that they've had, and in none of those games have they taken a pasting. They've not taken a pasting at all. They lost 2-1 in the games that they lost, and they drew 1-1. So they've been out by 1 odd goal. So no one's really given them a doing over, apart from Chelsea. And we all know what Chelsea struggled to do, right? They struggled to put the balls in the net, and even they got 3 against them. So how do we think we're gonna do against this team? Now, obviously, what it says to me is they can be a bit of a stubborn team. They defend stubbornly and they stay in games. And so while they're in games, they're going to have a chance. And so we're looking at that and we're saying, where are the keys to victory if Spurs are going to come out on top in this game? Now, keys to victory. Now, I'm just going to go through a few quick points that I think we need to kind of adhere to if we're going to get the 3 points here. So the first one is we need to cut out needless mistakes. This includes silly free kicks and sloppy loose passes that are 5 yards from each other. They need to cut that out. We need to stop turning over possession cheaply. So that's one thing, which leads into my second point. We need to dominate possession in the final third, right? We have had the possession in majority of our games. We've dominated possession, but in some instances, like especially against the big games against Arsenal and Liverpool, we have had it playing out the back and, you know, taking our time to build through midfield, then to go out front. But we need to camp in Luton's half and build possession and pressure from there. That's going to be a key, right? If we can camp in Luton's half and play our football there, I think we're just going to be an irresistible force to them, and I don't think they'll be able to contain us very much. third key to victory is I think Spurs need to get an early goal, because I think that will knock Luton's confidence. You know, I think that Luton, like I said, they have been quite dogged. And so if they go 30, 45 minutes, even, without really conceding, or they're only one down, I think they'll take confidence. We need to slap that confidence out of them before they even start to catch their breath back. So an early goal would set the tempo, set the pace, and I actually think if we get an early goal, I can see the floodgates opening. So an early goal is probably key to a Spurs victory and to take the confidence away from Luton. Key here is that we need to defend set pieces better. I've highlighted in many of my videos that I think a vulnerability that we have is at the back post, and normally on Porro's side, right? So we need to defend set pieces better. So I think that's going to be one of the key ways that Luton target us, right? And so that's going to be an avenue for them to get some joy. But two, the switch at the back post, or the cross to the back post when they isolate Pedro Porro because he's a short right back, is another area that we've got to be mindful of. And so we need to defend set pieces, and we need to be mindful of the switch to the back post. Destiny Doggies is quite tall and is quite good in the air, but I've seen Porro isolated and, exposed there. The Liverpool goal on the weekend showed that, as well as the Burnley goals and a couple others this season. So we need to defend set pieces, and we need to sort out the Porro at the back post situation a bit better. Lastly, we need to avoid complacency, right? So just because it's Luton Town, just because they're struggling, they're 17th in the league, they've only won one game all season against another struggling team, against Everton, and they haven't won at home, we shouldn't just be walking into this game thinking it's an easy 3 points. I mean, let us think that, but they can't afford to think that. So they need to avoid complacency, and they need to approach the game as if they were approaching it when they was taking on Liverpool and Arsenal and Manchester United, right? It's a big game, and it's a game that if we win it, we'll go top at least for 24 hours, and we'll go into the international break with, an undefeated record. And then we'll go, and then the rest of October looks good, right? So we need to avoid complacency. But I think if they can carry out these few things that I've just mentioned here and the keys to victory, I can't see Spurs getting stopped. And like I say, I predict a 4-1 beating on Luton Town. Question for you Spursonians. See, do you think that on paper we should win this game, right? But do you think we will win the game and go to the top of the league? Or do you think that the Spursy gene will mutate and rear its ugly head and see us drop points against Luton, therefore losing ground on the rest of the Premier League top teams? It would be an absolutely tragedy if we draw against Arsenal away, we beat Liverpool at home, we beat Man United at home, and away from home we beat Burnley 5-2, so we pick up good results and good performances to travel to Luton in their 10,000 seater stadium and not pick up the 3 points. So as I said before, I was disappointed with the way that we went about our business against Liverpool in the other game, because we struggled to break 9 men down, and it showed the lack of invention and creativity. And we're going to have many teams, and Luton may be one of them this weekend, where teams set up to survive or stay in the game and maybe nick a point or nick a win on a counter-attack or a set piece. And this is what Liverpool eventually did in the second half, right? They was in survival mode, but they was hoping to pick us off with 10 men. And with 9 men, they were just trying to get the point. And obviously you can't blame them. But there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to do this. So do we have the invention and the creativity to take the risks? Because we actually won that game without James Maddison and Son on the pitch, right? So what I want to see more of is some of our other players taking more creative risks. I think Porro's a good outlet, but I need to see people take more risks in this game, because Luton probably going to have a time where they're going to be dogged and they're going to be compact, and they're not going to probably give us much. And the results that I've highlighted so far show that they're going to probably be tough nut to break down, certainly early on. So we've got to be mindful of that. We're probably looking at a tight game, even though the positions of two teams are very, wide. The form guide says that it might be a closely contested game. But I'm going to go against the form guide, and I'm going to say Tottenham are going to smash Luton to pieces. And I'm going to say we're going to win 4-1, at least 4-1, maybe even 4-0. But I think we haven't got our defensive structure perfect right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we conceded. But I think we're going to win by a clear 3-4 goals. So my prediction on this is going to be 4-1 to Spurs, 2 for Son, 1 for Richarlison, and 1 for Maddison. That's how I'm going to go with my 4 goal scorers. That would mean is that we're going to the top of the league. What about you? What do you predict? Do you think we're going to come out with 3 points? Will we go to the top of the league? Will we reach the summit of the Spursverse? Will we get there? Will we be looking down at the rest of the 19 teams envious of our position? Or will the Spursy Dean strike and bring us back down to reality? Us hopeless romantics, yeah, us Spurs fans who are hopeless romantic for a trophy. Will we get knocked back? Drop your thoughts and your predictions in the comment section below, and I will see you on Saturday with a post-match reaction to the game. So until then, come on you Spurs!